My name is Tamer Al-Mishal, and I am conducting an investigation into the ISIL cell in Brussels, responsible for the attacks in Paris in November 2015. Over the course of a few months, we have conducted interviews with politicians, analysts, former ISIL fighters, security and intelligence officials. When I arrived in the Belgian capital, I contacted a member of the security services there. He was not keen to answer my questions.
Alors ici c'est dangereux. Il n'existe pas la démocratie. Il est où la démocratie? Il est où la liberté d'expression? Il n'existe pas. La démocratie ici, c'est ça, règle. Mais qui fait les règles? Qui? C'est quelqu'un qui fait les règles et qui remplace ça demain.
I then arranged to meet a man who said he had fought with ISIL in Syria, but had now returned to Brussels. He wanted his appearance to be concealed.
Pour commencer, déjà, les attentats, c'est une réponse de l'État islamique par rapport à la coalition. Donc en fait, c'est le message de l'État islamique. C'est l'application du qasas, la loi du talion. Œil pour œil, dent pour dent. Vous êtes venus chez nous, vous avez bombardé, vous avez tué, vous avez brûlé, on va faire de même chez vous.
Sachez que ce n'est pas la dernière opération. Ce n'est pas notre dernier rendez-vous.
The Brussels cell launched attacks in Paris on the 13th of November 2015.
Deuxième explosion, Stade de France. Deuxième explosion, courez. Barrez-vous. Il y a des attentats.
S'il vous plaît, qu'est-ce qui se passe?
ونغزوكم على إثرها في عقر داركم فإننا نريد إن شاء الله باريس قبل روما.
There were several coordinated attacks over a nearly 4-hour period, beginning outside the National Stadium during a football match, and followed by several shootings and a suicide bomb at cafes and restaurants. These included shootings and a kidnap at a heavy metal concert at the Bataclan Theatre near Republic. These were clearly planned, coordinated and calculated.
Ceci est un message pour toi, François Hollande. Ceci est un message pour tous les habitants de la France.
130 people were killed in Paris and 368 injured. The highest death toll in an attack in Europe since 1988. The police investigation focused on ISIL fighters who had returned from Syria and others who had been recruited within Europe. Questions were raised about the extent of the ISIL presence there. And the net was spread wider than the French capital, as it emerged that the Paris attacks had been planned in neighboring Belgium. The group responsible was identified as being based in the Belgian capital, Brussels. But 4 months after Paris, another closely linked cell struck again, this time at Brussels airport and on the metro system, killing 48 and injuring over 300. My priority was to discover more about this ISIL cell. Brussels is the home of the European Union and NATO headquarters. But in 2015 and 16, it emerged as a recruiting ground for ISIL and a base for many of its activities in Europe. In the wake of the Paris attacks, the city was on the highest level of security alert. But it also became the focal point of the search for the cell considered the most dangerous and wanted group in Europe. Four Belgian nationals became the prime suspects. An ISIL cell in Brussels, headed by this man, Abdelhamid Abaoud. Abaoud was a Belgian of Moroccan descent. He left Brussels in early 2013 and traveled to Syria to fight for ISIL. He then returned, possibly assigned to undertake special operations in Europe. He was aided by two men, suicide bombers in Paris, Ibrahim Abdessalam and Bilal Hadfi. They both came from the Molenbeek district of Brussels. The fourth man was Salah Abdessalam, Brahim's younger brother. He may have planned to blow himself up in Paris, but he disappeared and became the target of a Europe-wide manhunt.
The famous names we can see here: Abdelhamid Abaoud, the person that for a year was considered as the main orchestrator and the main mastermind of Paris Molenbeek network.
I asked EVGENIA about Belgian nationals fighting for ISIL in Syria and Iraq.
Indeed, unfortunately, if we're speaking about Belgium, today Belgium is the European country that has per capita the highest level of jihadists who join Islamic State in Syria and Iraq. According to the latest data that we have on the year 2016, at least 614 Belgian nationals or Belgian residents joined Islamic State in Syria and Iraq. And so far, indeed, per capita, this is the highest number.
It was clear that Belgium had become a significant location for those choosing to fight for ISIL, both for Belgians and as a transit point for others.
ألا فليعلم العالم أننا اليوم في زمان جديد. ألا من كان غافلا فلينتبه. إن للمسلمين اليوم كلمة عالية.
People from several different European countries have increasingly become involved in ISIL activity in Syria. And Belgians are a significant part of that trend.
The reputation of Belgium is a very bad reputation internationally. Why? Because you have Paris attack, you have the Brussels attack. They're all from Belgium, from Molenbeek. But what is well correctly, that Belgium is the top of the foreign fighters if we look to the population. 1 for every 20,000 people who live in Belgium went to Syria. The international view is that Belgium is like the capital of the jihadi in the world, but that's not correctly if you see to the numbers.
Je demande à Allah Azza wa Jal qu'il accepte nos frères en tant que martyrs. Ces opérations martyrs de nos frères, de ces lions d'Allah Azza wa Jal, n'ont fait qu'augmenter la foi dans nos...
As part of this investigation, we discovered previously unseen documents from an unnamed source. They were issued by the branch of ISIL responsible for the recruitment and transit of so-called foreign fighters to areas under their control. It was a comprehensive database of recruits of different nationalities, names, addresses, contact details. It included the reasons each individual wanted to join ISIL and what role they hoped to perform. They came from several countries and different walks of life. But the number of Belgians on the list was striking. It shows that between 500 and 700 had joined ISIL in recent years and confirmed what I had been told about Belgium supplying the highest numbers per head of population to ISIL. The documents also suggested that about 15% of Belgians who had joined ISIL seemed to return to Europe. Some may have returned of their own accord, but others may have come back with a definite mission to carry out operations in their own countries. In downtown Brussels, it wasn't easy to track down and gain access to ISIL recruits, especially in a state of high security alert. I did make a direct contact with a former ISIL fighter who had returned from Syria. He was reportedly among the first to travel to Syria to fight for ISIL in late 2012. We met at a secret location of his choosing. I asked him when young people started to go to Syria and join groups like ISIL.
Donc au tout début, c'est vrai, j'ai fait partie des premières personnes qui sont parties. Parce que, comme j'ai expliqué auparavant, avec cette répulsion et toute cette haine qu'il y avait envers les musulmans de Syrie, après tous les massacres, toutes les tortures. Mais avant de préparer le voyage, on a fait les choses correctement, donc on a pris des mesures de précaution avant de partir. Bien avant de partir, on s'est préparé, on se mélangeait pas n'importe où et avec n'importe qui, on n'expliquait pas notre plan aussi, notre but à n'importe qui. Et tout doucement, chacun a préparé ses affaires et a fait le voyage vers la Syrie. Donc ça a commencé au tout début, vers la fin des années 2012. C'était la période avec tout ce qui était révolution dans les pays arabes et tout ce qu'on a vu via les vidéos où l'armée de Bachar a vraiment persécuté et torturé des musulmans juste parce qu'ils disaient la profession de foi, juste parce qu'ils disaient la ilaha illallah. Donc tout ça a fait que dans certains jeunes, il y a eu un Hamas qui s'est réveillé. Donc on va dire que ça a été la dernière flamme qui a réveillé un peu tout le monde. Pourquoi on s'attaque au monde musulman sunnite?
ISIL recruitment here seems to work through private networks. They are deeply secret, so clearly not easy to track down. Cells are not necessarily connected, but they are common factors. 80% are Muslims born to Arab immigrant families.
If one person from Belgium go to Syria, his friends who are with him will ask that question, why he went to Syria? And the person who was in Syria say, here it's the paradise. We have everything, we have freedom, there is no discrimination. It works like that. If you look to the telephone taps that the intelligence services in Belgium, when they were listening to the people who went to Syria, the foreign fighters, you heard in the communication very easy words. It's not a complicated strategy. No, one person and then they follow the other one. That you don't have to underestimate. It's not like they are recruiting as an organization, they're recruiting people. If you have, and these people are living very isolated.
It seemed to me that recruitment could be divided into three main categories. The first is a group enlisting new members. It identifies recruits, then observes them, where they live, places they go, things they do. The second is the group in charge of preparing recruits and then sending them to Syria. It includes so-called sponsors, who are the link between Belgium and networks of smugglers in Turkey. Through these, the recruits reach their destination, what they call the land of the Caliphate. I ask my source how the whole recruitment process works.
Donc au tout début, en fait, c'était certaines personnes sur Bruxelles qui avaient les connexions, qui avaient les numéros nécessaires pour arriver jusqu'en Syrie et qui expliquaient les démarches à suivre. Et à ce moment-là, sur place, les gens arrivaient à connaître certaines personnes qui étaient déjà là avant eux ou autre chose, ou voyaient la sincérité des personnes et les faisaient, on va dire, les accepter dans leur groupe. Tout le monde ne demandait pas des tests qu'il y a ou quoi, tout le monde faisait confiance. C'est par après qu'on a demandé des tests qu'il y a, et parce qu'ils ont vu qu'il y avait plusieurs espions, etc.
We should say that Islamic State invented, let's say, the whole variety of different tools of recruiting. And at the same time, they used traditional forms of the recruiting that were formerly used by Al-Qaeda. Islamic State also used the networks that were initially belonged to Al-Qaeda, were Al-Qaeda affiliated, also to recruit the new members. Reason for such a success of Islamic State in their recruiting campaign was first that they used different modes of recruiting, and at the same time they addressed to a larger audience. They did not necessarily attempted to attract only Muslims in their networks, but they addressed to many other peoples. We could see among jihadist fighters who traveled to Syria and Iraq, people who were not religious at all. There were Christians who were converted directly to Islam and to radical Islam.
This is the third category of ISIL recruitment: converts.
Non. Oui, beaucoup. Après, j'ai atterri dans une magasin. On était une cinquantaine de femmes, mais sur les 50 femmes, il y en avait au moins 30 qui venaient d'Europe. Pas forcément converties, mais en tout cas nées en Europe, quoi. Ouais, des Belges, des Françaises, des Anglaises.
The recruitment of converts to Islam was interesting. There seemed to be quite a few among the so-called foreign fighters, and the majority seemed to be European women.
Je me suis converti il y a presque 10 ans maintenant, vers 2014. Les soucis financiers, le problème de retrouver du travail, le fait aussi que j'avais pas le sentiment d'être tranquille ici par rapport à la religion, fait que j'ai commencé à penser à vouloir partir. Parce que petit à petit, il y avait les vidéos propagande qui tournaient sur Internet où, voilà, le Shem, c'est absolument la terre où il fallait aller.
I traveled out of Brussels to meet the family of Julie Bertrand, who had converted to Islam. Julie went to Syria to join ISIL in 2015.
All the people we know, all our friends, our work, at work, they know what's happening and they're good for us.
Ça, le départ de Julie a tout changé. C'est quelque chose que vous ne pouvez pas vous imaginer. D'abord, quand elle était là-bas, la peur, tous les jours, qu'elle se fasse tuer. Julie pensait qu'on ne l'aimait pas. C'est ce qu'elle a dit. Qu'on ne voulait plus d'elle.
En fait, elle m'a dit qu'elle partait en Syrie parce que elle devait partir sur la terre du Chêne pour vraiment pratiquer correctement sa religion. Et donc moi j'ai dit, pourquoi tu pars là-bas? Tu peux très bien le faire ici. Tu peux très bien porter ton voile et tout. Et elle me disait, ben non, tu sais, ici il y a plein de mécréants, tu sais très bien qu'ils me dévisagent à chaque fois que je porte mon voile. Je peux pas prier quand je veux, je peux pas mettre de voile quand je travaille, donc du coup tu sais bien que je trouve pas de travail, ici c'est la galère.
The way Julie had been recruited to ISIL was interesting. She was enlisted by Yassin Al-Isheri, a Belgian of Moroccan descent. This is the only available picture of him, taken by Julie in Raqqa, an ISIL stronghold in Syria. The process took Al-Isheri several months, but he persuaded her to travel to Raqqa, where he married her. Al-Isheri allegedly recruited other European women.
Well, this is the last mail.
Yes.
From Julie.
Yes, from Julie.
It says Saliha al-Belgikiya.
Yes, that was the last name she used to get in contact with us.
When she was in Raqqa, yeah?
Yes.
What did she say? It seems in
So she says, I don't feel well. I can't get out of here. I'm so sorry. You have to make your life normally. Stop to think about us and to wait for us.
Coming up in part 2, how accurate is the image of Molenbeek as a home of Islamic extremism?
Welcome to Belgistan.
Believed to be around 5,000-6,000 Europeans fighting for ISIL.
هناك جهات شوهت سمعة مولنبيك، إذ من اللازم بتشويه سمعة مولنبيك تشويه المسلمين وتشويه الوجود الإسلامي.
And did the Belgian authorities underestimate the threat that returning ISIL fighters might pose in the future?
Ils n'ont jamais pensé que ces gens-là allaient partir, ils allaient revenir pour faire des attentats à Bruxelles. Est-ce qui s'est passé? On a négligé. Ce n'étaient pas leurs enfants qui partaient. C'était des extrémistes musulmans pour eux qui allaient rejoindre une cause et on espérait qu'ils n'allaient jamais revenir.
I am conducting an investigation into the ISIL cell responsible for the attacks in Paris in November 2015. It has led me to Brussels and to the Molenbeek district. The area has gained a reputation since the attacks, particularly in the Western media, because of its ethnic diversity and large Arab and Muslim population. Molenbeek has been portrayed as a recruiting ground for ISIL and a hotbed of Islamic extremism. Young people from here are thought to have traveled to Syria and Iraq, and the cell responsible for the Paris attacks was based here. Abdel Hamid Aba Aoud and the brothers Ibrahim and Salah Abdel Salam came from Molenbeek. I asked the local imam if the district's reputation was deserved or not.
هناك جهات شوهت سمعة مولنبيك، إذ من اللازم بتشويه سمعة مولنبيك تشويه المسلمين وتشويه الوجود الإسلامي، وبالتالي كذلك تضخيم ما وقع في مولنبيك أو ما خرج من مولنبيك، ففيه نوع من التضخيم، نوع من التشويه. والجهات المغرضة، هناك جهات سياسية، هناك جهات عنصرية، هناك جهات يعني لها مصالح شخصية لتشويه الوجود الإسلامي في هذا الحي المتعايش.
Welcome to Belgistan.
Believed to be around 5,000-6,000 Europeans fighting for ISIS, and around 1,000 of them are from Belgium, and many of them from this neighborhood, Molenbeek.
The search for the terror cell behind the massacre is centered on this neighborhood in Brussels. The section of the city is known as Molenbeek.
The news broadcasts show how Molenbeek is seen by the mainstream international media compared with the view of the imam. It has a population of around 100,000, half of whom are Muslims. They are third-generation Moroccan immigrants whose families moved here in the mid-20th century. Molenbeek can polarize political opinion and provokes strong antipathy on the far right.
In Molenbeek, where there's a high percentage of Muslims, there they feel the need to pick up weapons. I do not understand it. I will not even accept that. And what do they ask, actually? They still want to kill those who do not believe or do not believe in Islam.
Tom van Grieken represents a Flemish nationalist party. I asked him to justify what I saw as his extreme views on immigrant communities in Belgium.
I think Molenbeek and a lot of great cities in Europe are getting occupied by radical Islamists, jihadists. I truly believe so. It's not their country. They're bringing a form of religion which is not ours, and they only ask things. They only have demands, and I personally prefer to get rid of them.
Quand on étudie les choses soigneusement, sereinement, on constate que le pourcentage de djihadistes à Molenbeek n'est pas plus important, il est parfois moins important que dans d'autres municipalités à forte présence arabo-musulmane. Or, quand vous étudiez sereinement les choses, il y a eu ici un pourcentage de djihadistes en fonction du nombre d'habitants qui pouvaient, le cas échéant, être sensibles à ce type de discours, mais il n'y en a pas plus que dans d'autres quartiers de Bruxelles, dans des villes françaises. L'image qu'on donne de Molenbeek est totalement fausse. Totalement fausse. On prétend par exemple qu'on ne peut pas circuler dans les rues de Molenbeek, certainement en recherche et qui parfois risque de sombrer dans des extrémismes. Mais vous savez ça dans des tas d'endroits, ce n'est pas spécifique à Molenbeek. On a vraiment voulu salir cette commune.
Clearly, there are several different perspectives on Molenbeek. But what was starting to interest me was where the Belgian authorities stood on the question of diverse communities like this, and on the number of foreign fighters seeming to emanate from here. Did the Belgian security forces take this potential threat seriously enough? Some have argued that the authorities were aware of the ongoing ISIL recruitment, but failed to act. Their inaction raises questions about their role in the events leading up to the Paris and Brussels attacks. Yuni is a Belgian of African descent who went to fight for ISIL in Syria. He is sometimes known as Abdullah, the Belgian. His mother asked the Belgian anti-terrorist police to stop him from going to Syria, but they did nothing. I asked Yuni's mother about what happened with her son.
J'ai dénoncé mon fils. Après, j'ai collaboré avec la police antiterroriste de la Belgique. Comme la police, ils m'ont donné beaucoup d'espoir. Ils m'ont dit non, madame, il ne va pas y aller. On a signalé. Pour moi, c'est la faute de l'État belge. C'est comme ils ont liquidé les enfants. Liquidation. C'est un politique. Moi, je ne vais pas laisser l'affaire là comme ça. Ça va jusqu'à ma mort. Moi, j'accuse l'État belge, c'est la faute de l'État belge qu'ils ont liquidé parce que nous, on est des étrangers. Moi, mon fils est belge. C'est comme un complot, c'est comme... Ils ont liquidé les enfants pour eux parce que quand tu t'appelles Mamed ou... Quand tu es étranger, ils ne prennent pas les soins des étrangers, tu comprends. Ils ont trop négligé les enfants là. Parce que si l'État belge, il avait aidé les enfants, donné le travail, qui sont belges, ils sont tous belges, ils ont les papiers. Donc, ce que ça n'a arrivé, ça ne va pas nous arriver.
I asked another politician, FOUAD AHIDAR, what he thought of how the Belgian authorities had acted.
Vous savez, c'est facile de mettre la pierre sur les autres, de dire qui est responsable, qui n'est pas responsable. Mais nous avons tous une responsabilité, notamment aussi l'État belge. Vous savez, quand les parents de ces enfants allaient au commissariat leur dire « s'il vous plaît, retirez le passeport de mes enfants parce qu'il veut partir en Syrie », on leur disait « Madame, on n'a pas le droit de retirer son passeport, votre fils a 18 ou 19 ans, il est majeur, il est libre s'il veut partir ». Ils n'ont jamais pensé que ces gens-là allaient partir, ils allaient revenir pour faire des attentats à Bruxelles. Est-ce qu'il s'est passé? On a négligé. Ce n'étaient pas leurs enfants qui partaient. C'était des extrémistes musulmans pour eux qui allaient rejoindre une cause et on espérait qu'ils n'allaient jamais revenir. Aujourd'hui, on paye notre laxisme.
Before that, indeed, the departure of jihadist fighters was largely seen as, a way to probably, let's say literally, clear the city from the most radicalized personalities and the most difficult people. And no one could imagine at that moment, apparently, that the consequences would arrive so far and so fast.
I asked a member of the Belgian security forces about their strategy on foreign fighters.
Les politiciens ne veulent pas prendre ça au sérieux, c'est vraiment fermer les robinets de terrorisme qui va. Ils essaient de le voir. C'est une stratégie. La stratégie, c'est ça. Il faut laisser partir les gens pour voir avec qui ils sont en contact. Parce que lui, les informations sont insuffisantes.
So he seemed to be saying the Belgian strategy had been to track the ISIL recruits as a means of intelligence gathering. We also investigated another facet of ISIL recruitment in Belgium's jails. We noticed that petty criminals can mysteriously turn into foreign fighters. From inside the Belgian criminal justice system, ISIL targets prisoners convicted of minor crimes. 25% of the Belgian prison population comes from a Muslim immigrant background.
J'ai eu aussi, on m'a imposé des co-détenus alors que soi-disant de ces terroristes doivent rester seuls parce qu'ils n'avaient pas moyen de tabler sur le fait que tu dois faire ton devoir de musulman et tu dois sauver tes frères et sœurs et tu ne peux pas les laisser sous l'emprise de Bachar ou peu importe. Mais
you cannot deny that a lot of the foreign fighters have a criminal past. It's very clear. But we say the leaders have practically all a criminal past of who went to Syria. Of course, it's very easy to recruit them in jail.
I asked Abdelrahim Lihlali if he thought it made sense to put minor criminals in the same prison wings as those being held for terror-related offenses.
At this moment, till now, till over 1 year, there was no coordination in the prison. There was no follow-up of terrorist people who are in the prisoners. There was no follow-up of them. There was no coordination, no follow-up, how to work with them. They were all together in one prison.
We looked again at the ISIL recruitment database documents. They seem to confirm that many foreign fighters have criminal records. It looked like a deliberate ISIL strategy. One such recruit was Abdelhamid Abaoud, the leader of the Molenbeek cell.
اللهم صل على نبينا وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. الله سبحان الله.
We then tracked down a man from Molenbeek who had been in the same Belgian prison as Abaoud. Samira Zouagh had been held in Nivelles prison outside Brussels on suspicion of extremism. There he met Abdelhamid Abaoud, but he was not a member of ISIL at that time. I asked Zouagh to confirm he had met Abdelhamid Abaoud at Nivelles.
Yes, yes.
First time that I see him, I was in the prison, yes. But
Why had he been arrested?
it was when he was in the prison, it was for little things. Maybe he want to try to steal, because after, I informed me to know why he want to try to steal, not steal,
I asked him if Aba Aoud had changed during his time in jail from petty criminal into an ISIL recruit.
I don't know what's happened after this when I see him outside, because I seen one more time. I tell it on television because it was changing. You have a beard and other clothes and like this. But what's happened? After when he come out in the jail, Allah Alam, I don't know what's happened after. Prison help to be a terrorist. There's a problem here in the jail, because I seen it with my eyes. When Aba Aoud was entering life. When I see him on the TV, when I saw him the first time on the TV, I go quickly to the prosecutor. I tell him, "You see what's happened again with Aba Aoud?" After prosecutor tell me, "Yes, don't care, because we know everything about you, and we know everything about Aba Aoud."
But Abdel Hamid Aba Aoud was not the only member of the Molenbeek cell to be recruited to ISIL in prison. Salah and Ibrahim Abdel Salam also had criminal records. We discovered a previously unseen document, the minutes of a Molenbeek municipality meeting. It said the bar owned by the Abdel Salam brothers was visited by the Belgian police on the 14th of August 2015. The reason given was that they were selling drugs. The Abdel Salam brothers and the 3 other men were questioned by police. The mayor of Molenbeek formally closed the bar 3 months later, on the 5th of November, just 8 days before the Paris attacks. The Abdel Salam brothers took part in those attacks. According to local people, their bar was well known for selling drugs. They weren't considered religious and had served several prison sentences, like others in Molenbeek thought to have joined ISIL. This was a prime example of ISIL's recruitment strategy in Europe. Four months after the Paris attack, on the 18th of March 2016, Salah Abdel Salam, the most wanted man in Europe, was arrested at this apartment in Molenbeek. All the time he had been in hiding there, he had evaded Belgian security forces, even at a time of such heightened alert across Brussels. One point to emerge in our investigation was that Abdel Hamid Adrahi, a captain in the Belgian security forces of Moroccan descent, had identified Salah Abdel Salam's location in Molenbeek in January 2015. Adrahi immediately informed his superiors, but his intelligence failed to produce a response, and Abdel Salam was able to remain in hiding for 3 more months before his eventual arrest. What's more, the apartment where Abdel Salam was arrested was the same location that Adrahi reported in January. But no action was taken until the French authorities got involved. Belgian security seemingly ignored Adrahi's intelligence, and no explanation for its inaction has yet emerged.
Alors que nous avons des gens qui sont recherchés au niveau international. Et aujourd'hui, ces gens ont été libérés. On ne comprend pas. Aujourd'hui, il y a une enquête en cours, et cette enquête va devoir effectivement nous montrer où il y a eu les couacs, où le problème se situe. Il y a eu à un moment donné un dysfonctionnement du système. Soit l'information n'est pas passée du bas vers le haut, soit de haut vers le bas, mais il y a quelque chose qui n'a pas fonctionné. Le pire de tout ça, le plus grave, monsieur, le plus grave, c'est qu'aujourd'hui, des gens ont des responsabilités et sont toujours à leur poste. Ils sont toujours à leur poste. Des commissaires de police qui avaient les informations sont toujours en train de travailler. Et donc, à un moment donné, un peu de respect. Aujourd'hui, il y a des gens qui ont des responsabilités et on doit les juger.
Puisque même l'État islamique demande à tous ceux qui aimeraient émigrer vers la Syrie ou rejoindre le groupe État islamique, leur demande de rester ici et de devenir des loups solitaires, qui veulent montrer à l'Occident que même si vous venez à nous, nous on ne va pas venir chez vous, les soldats sont déjà chez vous.
There is no possibility to exclude new terrorist attacks in Belgium in the nearest future, and many governmental authorities are saying about the same. We're not speaking if, we're speaking about when.
Attention please, this is the final call for Korean Air from Levant.
I asked Tom van Grieken of the Flemish Nationalist Party about suggestions within Belgium that his far-right politics were benefiting from ISIL's activity in his country.
I think we have enough Islam in our country. I personally think there's no history where there's a common ground for European Christianity and Islam, only in conflict. Therefore, my party is very Islamic critical. We have problems with that ideology, and we see that that ideology causes a lot of problems, not only in Belgium, but in France, in the Netherlands, in London, in Great Britain, in Germany. So therefore, I think it's common sense that you say, well, enough, we want to keep our identity, and the people who don't accept the way we live for more than 2,000 years, well, those people, they have no place here.
Regardless of Van Grieken's denial, ISIL has occupied a space among young European Muslims vacated by mainstream European politics. At the same time, the far right is on the rise across the continent. Could they combine to thrust Europe into an increasingly dangerous and uncertain future?